Right, good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. So, we are going to talk about B2B marketing, getting it right, hopefully, how to avoid just falling into tactics and not thinking about the bigger picture. So, my name's Simon. I look after the marketing at Spotler, and I have with me Russ from Sharper B2B Marketing. I would do him a disservice if I try to introduce him, so I'm going to let him do that all by himself. But just for a bit of housekeeping, so this is 30 minutes, 45 minutes. We are, well, at Spotler at least, we're trying something different today. So this is more of an interview-led thing. So I get to live out my dream of being Parkinson for half an hour. Probably not as good. But I'm going to ask Russ a number of questions around B2B marketing and tactical marketing. You will get a copy of the. Sorry, you will get. This is being recorded, so you will get a copy of the recording. It says on there you will also get a copy of the slides. There won't be many slides to send you, as this is a kind of a Q&A session, interview session. There's not going to be many slides. Just in case you see me and Russ running, it's because there's some kind of fire alarm or something happening. So hopefully that won't happen, but that's the only reason why this will end. But before we get started, for those that are not customers on this Spotler, we're a marketing automation platform, specifically data-driven marketing software. We've got a number of customers across a number of different countries, performing successful B2B marketing, B2C as well, but this is a B2B focused webinar. So what I mean by that, though, is when we talk about individual channels, we allow you to send emails, see who's on your website, follow up with SMS, make sure that your PPC is performing better by showing you the companies that are coming from your website. So that whole kind of B2B solution, all within a CRM, a lead management software, is what Spotler offers in that marketplace. So that is the sales pitch out the way, if you like. We, as a software, we also offer support, account management, deliverability. Believe it or not, in the B2B world, we want to make sure we're delivered, and we have certain challenges in that environment for B2B marketers. And we also have some services. So obviously, if any of our customers need some help with campaigns, we have our expertise on hand. And I'd like to just say, obviously, I'm not going to say bad stuff about Spotler, but don't just take our word for it. We've got some great reviews on Trustpilot, on G2 Crowd. You can have a little look and see whatever people are saying about us. So, marketing automation software. If you're interested, then stay in touch with us. And without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Russ to just give you a little bit of background about who Russ is, what he does, what the company does, and then we're going to get straight into the session itself.
Cool. Thank you very much, Mr. Parkinson.
Louis Theroux, actually. Quite like Louis Theroux.
Cool. So hi everyone. I'm Russ. So I'm founder and MD of Sharper B2B Marketing. Just gave you a little sneak preview of the first slide there. But what we do is all about giving our clients the fresh ideas and firepower that deliver marketing ROI. And the reason we do that is because we know a lot of B2B brands are struggling to stand out from the crowd, struggling to add meaningful and measurable value, and struggling to give marketing a seat at the strategic table. So I actually spent 12 years client side before launching Sharper, very nearly 4 years ago now. So I worked at Fujitsu, Microsoft, Dell, Symantec, Atos. So I spent my whole career in that B2B tech market as a marketer. And really what we do with Sharper is try and counteract and deal with the three main frustrations I felt as a client-side marketer, which was a lack of creativity, marketing and marketers being undervalued by their businesses, and also kind of the woolly commercial approach that a lot of marketing and marketers take. So that's why we exist. It's what our clients get from us, and it's what feeds into our services and solutions as well. So I guess what we're kind of best known for and have won awards for and what clients kind of love us and ask us for is our wonderfully created campaigns. So taking what can be the dull and boring B2B offerings and coming out from a different angle, injecting a new ideas, new look and feel into them to make them more appealing and attractive. But the way that we see it is that a campaign is only as good as the strategy that feeds it, and a strategy is only good as the research that underpins that. So we also provide this deeper intel and insight. So we've got kind of more meaningful research feeding things, which then is developed into that clever strategic thinking, which then builds the brief for what that wonderfully created campaign should be to deliver those fresh ideas, firepower, and ROI.
Lovely. Well, hopefully that gives you a good background on Russ and Sharper. So as I said, please submit any questions that you have throughout. I'll keep an eye on them coming through. But we're going to start and get straight into it. So the deck's going to disappear. And Russ, let's get started with, we wanted to talk about the tactics trap, but what is it? What do you mean by falling into a tactics trap?
I mean, the tactics trap is kind of a term that we've coined. It's kind of a sticky situation that a lot of B2B marketers especially find themselves in without really realizing it a lot of the time. So it's a lot of focus on tactics, on the bottom end of what marketing should be. So marketing should cover that market diagnostics, research, strategy, positioning, messaging, and then the communications, the tactical execution of that is kind of the last part. But what we find is you get a lot of clients, a lot of businesses kind of skip out all the stuff that needs to happen before, and they go straight into tactics, and that is where people fall into that trap, because you absolutely need tactics. You need to activate market, you need to execute in market. But if you're doing that in a way that is kind of reactive, and you're just doing things because you think you should do them, then you're kind of falling into a trap of just chasing the newest, shiniest thing and just doing what you think you should do without knowing what you really should do.
So why do you think that's so common then? Because it sounds like you're saying the companies, they generally know they need more leads or new business, and then they just go straight away and try and drum something up, if that's the case. So is that what you generally come across?
Yeah, it's really short-termism is kind of what drives it. And it's not marketers' fault, it's not businesses' fault. It's especially in the Western world, where we have a lot of kind of more Americanized companies are driven on that quarter by quarter sales targets. And it's often the case of, especially in B2B, where you kind of got like channel marketing programs as well, everything is done quarter to quarter to quarter. And so, like, for instance, like marketing development funds, MDF, would be released in month 1, and the expectation is that there is tangible result delivered by the end of month 3. But in the world of B2B marketing, where we operate, it's big technical sales, big buying groups, long decision making cycles.
I would say that's the key bit, isn't it? It's different from commerce or B2C. From the, as you're saying, sales cycle can be longer, more convoluted, more people involved.
And this is also why, because sometimes marketers get driven. They'll have a CMO, so they have a CEO, potentially a chief revenue officer, sales director, someone like that going, right, come on, where are the leads? We need the leads, give us the leads. And it just, a lot of time, kind of forces the hand of the marketers that they're driven to focus on that short-termism and build a short-termist approach, which means they haven't got time to do the really important research, strategy, positioning, messaging, because you can't prove short-term return and value on that. That stuff takes time. It has to be given time to bed in and develop and build brand and build connections and memory that people can then use.
So how do you balance that out then? Because obviously from a business, you want to have a demand gen going on, and ideally you want to have some form of long-term activation going on. I guess it's really hard to balance out those bits because that short-term is a bit that you can see happening now and then. So how do you pitch this other bit that you're saying around the long term and more of a waiting game, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I mean, but like the research has been done. Like, I'm sure you've read the long and short of it, and like the whole split, the 55 to 45 budget split of long term to short term and all that kind of stuff. But again, if you've got a sales director breathing down your neck saying what's going on, where are the leads marketing, it makes it difficult. It is a tricky situation to navigate. But one of the best ways that I've sort of heard of and seen of positioning it is kind of it all comes back really to trust. And I think the best way to think of it is you don't buy from brands that you don't trust, and you don't trust brands that you've never heard of. So for instance, if we'd never met and I was to walk up to you in the street and go, "Go and buy this pillow," you'd be like, "Well, no, what are you talking about?" But if you've heard for a few months, a few weeks that Russ does really good pillows, sells really good pillows, and then I come up to you and go, "Si, do you want to? You look like you need more pillows for your couch. Would you want to buy a pillow?" And then it's kind of that. So it's really about, and I think the best way that I've found of kind of managing expectations and helping to shift mindset away from pure short-termism is that it's about building trust. And like sales directors, people who are focused on numbers, figures will go, "Wow, trust, how can you quantify that, etc., etc." And I think if you're then kind of tying it back to kind of more provable back-end metrics, it's really about, for instance, if you've got Spotler, if you've got kind of your CRM system in place, it's how are you showing that you're building that audience of buyers in the background. They may not be buying right now, but you know that they're a target buyer for you and your organization. How is what you're doing building that audience now, and how quickly is that audience being built as well? And then how are you then interacting and engaging with that audience over time? Because that then makes things much more tangible, because a CRO, a sales director, trust is too ethereal, it's too conceptual. But if you can say to them, "Okay, we've added 50% more buyers into our pool that we're actually marketing to," which if we model that out, looks like in 6 months' time, that's this many opportunities based on modeling. In a year's time, that's this much revenue. It then makes it far more
It's a very interesting point,
and
isn't
real
it?
for them.
Because being able to model it out means then the business needs to know its conversions. What sales conversions are, what leads to technically MQLs to SQLs might be, and that whole funnel, which is probably an interesting one in itself for most marketing companies. It means that marketing and sales need to have that alignment, or the business needs to have that alignment in those discussions.
But that then creates that positive tension between sales and marketing, because if you as marketers can go, "Okay, well we're growing your audience of buyers that you want to engage with, we're growing that." But if we then hand them across to you and you tell me your pipeline conversion is only 20%, what's going on, sales? Because we could go out and build that audience as big as you want it to be built, but if it then can't be activated, converted in an efficient way, that then it's not passing the buck, but it's creating that positive tension between sales and marketing that you both know that you're working in the same direction.
A great question come in around that, actually. So I'm gonna skip through. So it was, what were the key steps to developing a marketing strategy? which that kind of helps maybe underpin what you're saying, in that the first step is to define your position, I would imagine. So that part of going straight to tactics, and if you've got all of leads coming in but only X is converting, maybe you're I think we in the industry call it ICP.
Yeah.
If you've ever been on any of our webinars, we probably hear us call it killer values.
Right.
Just what are the key bits, or what are the key attributes that you're targeting.
Mm-hmm.
So have you got any examples of that, or what does Sharper go after, for example, to give a real world definition
in terms of
ICPs or positioning and targeting?
Yeah, I think, well, in terms of the overarching marketing approach, as you said, kind of tactics come last. Before that, it's kind of, you think of it of like, I kind of think of it almost like going to the doctors. Like, you don't go to a doctor and say, I need this specific medicine. I mean, maybe you do in America, it's very different over there. But you don't go to a doctor and say, I need this medicine. You go to a doctor and go, you know, I'm not feeling great, I've got these symptoms. And the doctor will then take what you're saying, diagnose, will then take that diagnosis and say, okay, here's a treatment plan. And then after the treatment plan comes the medicine. So if medicine is the tactic, the treatment plan is the strategy, and the diagnosis is the diagnosis from a marketing perspective. And we often see a lot as well, for instance, in B2B, you'll get someone will come up with this amazing new bit of tech, AI, machine learning driven widget that can do whatever. And they're like, this bit of tech is incredible, it's amazing. And we're like, okay, cool. What about the market told you the market wanted that?
Yeah, okay.
And they'll be like, oh, I don't really know. And it's kind of doing things the wrong way around, in that you've developed a product and you're then trying to find a market to serve. Whereas if you can look at the market, identify where there's a need, a gap that people are asking for, and then develop a product to fill that, that will be far more fruitful and valuable from a marketing perspective.
And I guess that not sums it up, but if you were looking to avoid getting out of a tactic trap, or even identifying that you're in there, I guess it is that part of saying, if you're constantly focused on the individual channels without having the knowledge of why you're doing it in the first place. So have you got any real world examples of any campaigns that you've worked on that blends that strategy and the tactics that you've used to run them?
I thought you were going to ask me of any bad ones and ask me to throw some flags.
I might come to that at the end. Yeah, I'll give you the easy bit first, and then say, can you give us some ones that you shouldn't do?
I mean, so there's, if people want to take a look, there's loads of case study examples on our site. I guess one of my favourites we've done is a campaign that we ran for NetApp and ProAct, and it was actually a Halloween campaign. So we took classic horror films and we then merged them with IT decision maker challenges to recreate the posters, and we created trailers and merch and kind of a whole kind of film experience behind it. But the idea behind that was, we were looking at core problems, challenges that we knew the audience had, but just talking to them about it in a completely different way. So instead of Dawn of the Dead, we had Dawn of the Red server lights, because IT managers, they want to avoid downtime. They need to make sure things are running and smooth. They want all the green lights on all the servers all the time. Red lights are a really bad thing. And like the other one, instead of the Blair Witch Project, we had the Migration Project. So migrations are a big upheaval. Again, people want to avoid downtime, loss of data, things like that. So it was really understanding the audience, their challenges, what are their nightmares, what are the horror stories for them, and then kind of using that creative angle to kind of talk about those challenges, needs. horror stories in a different way.
So once you've got those ideas, and this is a good one in that we're talking about, how do you deploy them? What tactics did you use to deploy them?
So that is then when the tactical side of things comes in, because you know the audience, you understand needs, challenges, wants, desires. You then create the communications plan. With tactics, it's really about fishing where the fish are.
Yes.
Because you can spread budgets thin and go broad, but you need to, especially in B2B, you need to maximize and optimize things to deliver the campaign to people where they exist.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually, for that campaign, we used highly targeted paid LinkedIn activity. Was that campaign as well, we actually ran it across different countries, so it was localized into 5 different languages as well. But we had highly granular campaigns for the specific audiences with the specific films in the specific territories as well. And it was a lot of manual work to do to build all of those and execute them, but it pays out. It's worth it because we've proven that kind of delivers the ROI. I think the ROI of that campaign was like 1 to 260 or something like that in terms of pipeline and opportunities generated.
Yes.
And we won a couple of B2B Marketing awards for that campaign as well. But it's really the core of it. The tactical execution is crucial.
Yeah.
But it needs to be underpinned by that strategy and the research piece as well that comes before it.
So if you are so focused on tactics, which obviously it does form a core part of it, how do you just give yourself some headspace to come out of it? So if there are anybody on the webinar today that are just thinking, well, but yeah, I've got to get these bits done, and I've got to get this campaign out, I've got this email, I've got this LinkedIn, this social that we're doing. How can you find a bit of time for yourself, or what are the signs that actually, God, I do have a problem, I need to go to AA?
Or MA, Marketers Anonymous. I think if you are feeling stretched and feeling like you're doing too much, just do less. Pick. But it sounds reductive and almost stupid in a way, but you can't do 12 things well. I mean, you can barely do 12 things okay. Slim it down and just pick 1, 2, maximum 3 kind of things to do at once. And you just need to test and learn and iterate, because this is again the short-termism thing. If you'll get a sales director, a CRO breathing down your neck going, right, run a LinkedIn campaign, and then 2 weeks later they're like, where are the leads? And you're like, well, hang on, we've only been doing this for 2 weeks, and the research shows that I think like 90% of LinkedIn users only use the platform once a week. So you're expecting leads from someone who may not even be on the platform. You've got to give this time to bed in. And I think a lot of what marketers need to do is actually to start saying no more, to stop trying to do everything. You don't need to do everything. You need to find the things that work and do them better. Because there's no silver bullets in marketing. It's kind of the annoying beauty of the discipline is that if it were a simple press this button, everything works, you and I'd be out of jobs. We'd be doing something else, But
it's pressing a lot more buttons.
But it's that kind of thing. Like, you need to test and learn and iterate, because it's not an exact science. Like, there are no silver bullets, but I guess there is kind of a golden rule that if it works, do more of it. If it doesn't work, try something else.
So if you were to start a campaign today, or you're looking to get more leads in, and you knew your ICP, you generally know your conversions, and you only had, it was a question that came in, you only had, a small budget, but enough to get you going. What tactics what would be your go-to tactics for? They've mentioned a bit of awareness, but also leads coming in, kind of thing. Are there any certain channels that you find work really well in B2B?
It's about fishing where the fish are. It's quite a political answer from my side of things.
It is. I'm going to push you again because you might know where the fish are.
Yeah, but I think it's finding where the fish are is key. I would say that if you need to deliver short-term leads right here, right now, then you need to be having conversations with the people that are putting that pressure on to help reshape their thinking.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not a case of saying you can't do it. It's not a case of saying, oh, I don't know. It's a case of saying we need to be given time to work this out, to understand. Yeah. And again, it all comes back to creating that positive tension with sales, with the people breathing down your neck, to say, okay, that's the ICP. Is that the ICP? How does that match our current customer portfolio? How does that match what you've got in your pipeline? Mm-hmm. How does that match who you're outreaching to directly as well? And it's a lot of just kind of sense checking what you're being asked for as well as a marketer.
Yeah.
And ensuring that when it does come time to execute, that's being done in the best possible way. And it's different markets, it's different sectors, different tactics will work for different areas. I mean, for instance, like we've run awareness campaigns for a client where they're specifically targeting AEC, so architecture, engineering and construction, mm-hmm. who are a bit more traditional in their approach. They're a little bit they're less kind of digitally advanced in terms of not in terms of how they're delivering for their clients, but how they're going out and sourcing things like that. So we found email has worked incredibly well, mm-hmm. for those guys as a channel, whereas we've got other clients who have kind of more, they're targeting, for instance, financial services, again, very highly regulated. They can only do things in certain ways. We found that kind of a more PR outreach type approach has worked really well because, again, it's all about trust. It's all about proof points and things like that. But then we've also got kind of clients who are more SaaS focused, and it's kind of more of a volume play for them in terms of driving inquiries and engagement. So that's where kind of more like paid social and things like that will work. So the tactical choice needs to fit the business, it needs to fit the market, it needs to fit the target audience. Mm-hmm. But that's where we're talking about doing the diagnosis. The strategy piece will lead you towards the right tactics for you, not just dive in headlong into let's plow all of our budget into PPC or something like that, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you've got your strategy and you know who you want to target, have you got any tools or any tips that allow people to understand how they can nurture or the content that they might need to be able to bring people along that journey?
Well, if you're asking me to recommend a tool, Simon, I can highly recommend Spotler. It's a great platform.
That wasn't where I was getting at, but it is a great platform. A bit that I was trying to get at was the bit that I feel quite a few marketers struggle with is actually, we think, yes, we can use email, we can use LinkedIn, we can use social, but it's what levels of content do you need as a B2B marketer? So obviously most of us will have sales collateral, but that's only useful at a certain point in the journey. So I guess other than Spotler being a really great platform to deliver that stuff, how would you go about auditing what you need? What would be useful for different levels of the model? If you were to kind of take the AIDA, for example, awareness, interest, desire, are there certain types of content that work better in certain parts of that
so
funnel?
I personally don't necessarily subscribe to the kind of linear AIDA, awareness, interest, decision, action thing, because I know from my personal experience, like I will often, like I'll get served it, I'll see something on LinkedIn, I say, oh, that could be quite interesting, I'll download a PDF, and it will then sit on my desktop for a couple of weeks because I haven't got time to read it, and then drop off. And I guess in the background I would kind of be maybe an interest decision stage
what you downloaded, maybe
because of what I downloaded, but the reality is that I'm nowhere near that. And for instance, I know I'm potentially kind of a marketer's worst nightmare in terms of that thing, because if I'm researching a new topic or a new platform or a new whatever, I will just go and download everything all at once, take it away, read it at my leisure and things like that. And someone might be looking at that in a marketing automation tool going, oh my God, this guy, he's ready to buy. He's downloaded everything, but I'm still at the research stage. And I think a lot of it is kind of more comes back to understanding intent. And I think it's then, I guess from a marketing perspective as well, it's about what we talked about at the start, about growing that audience of potential buyers as well. So what's going to be interesting, appealing, potentially even challenging and entertaining for those guys and girls and whoever to consume at any point in that journey. And it's kind of, there's the whole thing of top, middle and bottom funnel content.
Tofu,
but again, I think that kind of, it's nice because it kind of segments things into nice neat boxes, nice linear things, and if someone's downloaded that, they must be here. But people are weird, people are erratic and nonsensical and non-logical and things like that. And like it's funny, like we talked about it before, and like people are going, like you say, oh yeah, I'm totally logical, I operate completely on logic, and these are the people that will still talk to their pets. Which is it's a thing you do, but
you might have just
but I mean, I do it. I talk to my dog all the time. It doesn't make any logical sense whatsoever. Why would you talk to your dog? He's not going to talk back. But do you know what I mean? It's people think they are entirely logical, but when they're actually out in the world, they're not. And people don't do things in regimented, nicely segmented order. So I think it's not necessarily about ascribing certain pieces of content to certain stages in the channel. It's about how can you develop content that is interesting and useful and informative specifically for the audience that you want to target. So I guess that's kind of a political answer in a way, but I think it's just I think people they don't do things step by step. They
might take 5 steps in one.
Do 5 steps, then do a backflip, then do a rolling poly, then go to sleep for a week, and then all that kind of stuff.
I guess a bit from my point of view, anybody that's listening, is there's a matrix that I quite like from Smart Insights and Dave Chaffee. So if you did want to audit the content that you got, all the types of content, that's a really useful tool out there. So if you Google it, Smart Insights, it breaks it down to say that these types of content are more fun, if that makes sense. These ones are more to help try and push a decision or so forth. So it gives you that balance that Russ is saying, that once you know who you're targeting and what you're after, you can sit down and say, perfect, so what have I actually got to entice them or to bring them on that journey?
It's like you're saying, it's having a variety of different types of content is really useful. It's really powerful, because it then will start to tell you what type of content works best for your audience that you want to engage. And again, it's back to if it works, do more of it. If it doesn't work, try something else.
You said that a couple of times. So how do you set up? I'm going to use the word A/B testing. And that, do you, when you do campaigns and you come up with, I'm going to call it a wacky idea, but the horror film thing, did you think of saying, actually, we'll do a horror against a Love Actually rom-com kind of thing? Or
well, it was because we knew it was specifically going to be a Halloween campaign. We had to go down horror, so it was that angle. But again, that all comes back to again, understanding the audience. And a lot of times, to kind of speak to that example you gave there, in B2B, a lot of times we know we are generally targeting, and this is a massive stereotype, but it kind of plays out, we are generally targeting men of probably 40 plus, with kids, will have grown up at a certain time, gone through certain things, have a generally similar set of interests as well. And obviously you can't pigeonhole everyone exactly, but you can start to build a picture of, okay, what's going to resonate with a guy who might look like that. So probably going to have much more success with a horror film than you would a rom-com type deliverable, because in generality, again, not being stereotypical, 40 plus guys who aren't necessarily going to be all that interested in rom-coms.
Did grow up with Notting Hill.
But I mean, if we're targeting 40 plus guys who work in IT, generally a bit geekier, a bit nerdier, no shame in it, I'm a proud geek myself. But it's understanding the audience and appealing.
It's going back to that top bit again, where we're saying the positioning, the targeting, and then your ICPs of overlaying it plays a vital point before you go straight into delivery of the tactics.
100%.
We've got through most of them. I've got a couple come through. So sorry, apologies for looking at my phone. There was one that you mentioned at the very top where you said about a commercial approach. So how do you go about, I guess, not so much from an agency point of view, because you work with a budget that a company says that they have, but for your own marketing, for example, at Sharper, how do you go about saying, for the year, this is a budget that we're looking to set, and this is how long I'm going to give myself or the team before we bail out on something or push into something, because I guess you're looking for bits that work well that you can do more of, and hopefully the things that don't work so well you either tweak and try differently or just say actually no scenario. So it's that commercial piece of getting a decent budget for the marketing team, and also implementing it in certain, and we touched upon the bidet and the long and short of it, of being a kind of a 50-50 split between brand activation, sales campaigns. But it'd be interesting how you set your stall out, if that makes sense.
I think from a Sharper perspective, from our marketing, sometimes it's a case of cobbler's children. But it's just kind of opening the bit, as it will be for the vast majority of agencies out there as well, is that often you get so focused on the work you need to do that your own marketing sometimes suffers. So we kind of keep things quite loose. Like we know our ICP, we know that we're targeting B2B tech marketers, channel vendor managers, that kind of people. So we just kind of look for opportunities and activities to access them. I think what may be more useful to talk about is kind of my experience back client side, because I'm assuming most people on the call will probably have a client background. And I guess the commercial side of things, there's something that always sticks in my mind, was when I was working client side, we ran a campaign and we had a part of it was there was quite a chunky content piece that we created, and downloads of that were being tracked as sort of first signal of intent on a buying journey.
Yeah.
Which is all well and good. So I remember vividly, we got a download of this this PDF white paper thing, and my marketing director said, "Okay, get it in the CRM." I was like, "Okay, fine." She was like, "That's worth £100 million," and I'm like, "Sorry, what?" It's like, one person has downloaded one PDF one time, and that's worth £100 million. And she was like, yeah. I was like, but if I put that in my CRM system and show the sales guy, like, he'll laugh me out the room. And she was like, no, that's what we're saying. Like, goes in 100 million. That's the pipeline value of that. And lo and behold, put it in the thing. Chat to the sales guy. He was like, no, put it down to 15k, which is what it really should have been as a first touch thing. And it's that disconnect between almost kind of like inflating what marketing is doing, and that kind of then damaging the reputation of marketing internally. So the approach that we kind of help in terms of our reporting, and we help clients with now as well, is, again, it's about that positive engagement with that buying audience, growth of that audience over time, and properly structured ROI modeling. So if an opportunity may potentially be worth 100 million when it closes, definitely not worth 100 million now. So how are things converting through the pipeline, at what speed, in what way, to give a more realistic picture of what potential ROI could be. And this is kind of the thing in B2B, because it's less immediate. So kind of in B2C, things are calculated on ROAS, like return on ad spend, because it's much easier. I mean, it's still, there's an attribution grey area there to navigate. But
we've got that question come in at the moment as well. I just wrote it down, but that attribution modelling is you're talking about it, and it's a hot topic just in Spotler, let alone in marketing in general. There's so many different attribution models, whether first touch, multi-touch, last touch, and so forth. I guess is that what you're saying? For shorter sales cycles, it can be relatively simple.
I'd definitely say it's not simple.
No, okay, more simple. But for bigger campaigns, because some of the companies on the client side that you mentioned, Fujitsu and so forth, I'm assuming that's quite long sales cycles. So therefore, actual last touch or first touch attribution kind of goes out the window a little bit, because it's multi-touch over it. I think I've got the answer for this, but other than how do you measure that? Is it basically good CRM, making sure data's captured in certain ways? Or just fingers crossed and hope the sales guys let you know?
No, I think it's very much, again, like we talked about a few times, it's creating that positive tension between sales and marketing, that everyone knows, okay, what we're doing may be different in terms of delivery, but it's all with the same end goal in mind. And you talk about like Fujitsu, for instance, like if you've got a big like high performance compute installation going on, that could be 2-3 years to close that deal, because of the intricacies and everything that needs to go into it. Because it's such, and it's not going to be right. You send an email on this day, and then 3 years time, it's stupid to kind of claim that one email was the cause of that deal being closed, because there will have been more marketing touch points, there would have been sales engagement, there would have been account management, there would have been everything else going on. So this is where it kind of comes back to just building that positive relationship between sales and marketing, so everybody knows, and having that continual reinforcement of a message, continual touch points, continual conversation, that that what everyone is doing is contributing towards this end goal?
Well, I think that gives us a good overview of tactics, strategy. I'm going to try keep us on time here, so it's gone quick, hasn't it?
Oh,
it's 10-2. Yeah. Exactly. So hopefully what you've got there is, from a marketing point of view, that the key parts are, as you probably all know, when we were doing marketing and those textbooks, it is the strategy is needed. We need our killer values to make sure that our positioning and our targeting is good. And then what I've got from this is, actually sometimes it's good to have a bit of fun within marketing, because we sometimes get struck down in doing the mundane, if that makes sense, of I've got to get this campaign out, so let's just get it out. I've got to do a PPC ad, so let's do this, rather than saying how can we best get someone's attention for this goal. So I hope that everybody on the call has enjoyed it. I've gone through most of the questions. Some were repeats. You will get a copy of this. Jess, if you're on the end there, we'll send it out later today. If anybody is interested in having a chat with Russ further around any campaigns, any of the topics, you'll get a copy of his details when we send it out. And if anybody's interested in Spotler and want to have a look at the software and what we deliver, then by all means, please get in touch. During the next couple of weeks, ideally. Short-term sales needed.
Leads. We need the leads. Give us
Exactly.
the leads.
You'll make our sales director really happy. No, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you, Russ. Thank you very much. I am going to go and retire from my interviewing role now. I've lived out a dream. So I'll leave it to Parkinson and the likes of Louis Theroux and everybody now. So thank you very much for your time, though, and hopefully everybody's got a little bit more of a clearer idea on how to take themselves out of the tactic trap. If you're focusing on tactics, then give yourself a couple of hours just to sit back, talk with the sales teams, and look at the goals and objectives of what the company wants to achieve is the main bit. So thank you very much. Thank you. And enjoy the sunny weather.
Yeah.
Goodbye.